This is gonna take crackerjack timing, Wang.
Total concentration. You ready, Jack?
I was born ready.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and we've got new information regarding Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Dark Knight's death metal that's coming out now. We know in June of 2020, as the comic book industry starts to ramp up after everything was essentially shut down for 4 to 6 weeks. And here to talk with me about it today is my good friend Dylan from the Real Comic Book Gamer. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me back.
Well, I'm glad you could be here. So first, I'm just going to quickly read the Newsarama article from their editor, Chris Arendt, and then we're going to have some talk about some of the information that we have. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Dark Knight's metal sequel, Death Metal, has returned to DC's schedule. Originally solicited for May 13 release, the debut of the 6-issue limited series is now June 16 as part of DC's post-Diamond shutdown revised schedule. The Tuesday date represents the date and date digital debut, along with comic shops served by distributors Lunar and UCS. Wednesday, June 17, will be the official debut date for stores serviced by Diamond. And Scott Snyder told Newsarama, "This is a story we've been building for 3 years. We pitched it when we pitched Dark Knight's Metal. It brings a lot of threads together to give what we hope will be the epic ending of an era of DC Comics and the equally epic start to a new one. Since the COVID-19 pandemic put the entire comic industry on hiatus, DC and Snyder's plans for Death Metal have expanded to include more tie-ins, specials, and anthology issues." Scott Snyder continued, "So, for an example, there's an anthology issue coming that's one of my favorite things we've ever done that is a Death Metal guide to the Dark Knights, and it's all the evil Batman. And then we have a metal guidebook that takes you all around the world of metal and what happens to the DCU and the current state of things. And while DC's other summer event, Generations, is MIA in DC's revised May and June schedule, Snyder said that Death Metal will sort out the DC continuity moving forward." So this is good news. You know, we finally have a release date for Death Metal, and it's going to be bigger than we ever anticipated it would be. I know you were a big fan of Dark Knight's Metal. Can you wait until June for the new series to come out?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's really interesting to see how the story has just gotten bigger and bigger. Before, it seemed like it was always going to be something big. It's come from Scott Snyder, but it always seemed like it was going to be sort of in that pocket of the Snyder and Capullo, sort of their universe, even though it's in continuity. It's sort of in that stage, and it won't really affect everything else that much. And then just slowly it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger with the Dio going, with now this whole pandemic happening, so they've had more time to work on it and add things. So it's interesting to see that. I'm excited because I did like Metal. I wasn't in love with it because I felt like they didn't really stick the landing, but overall I enjoyed the story. I thought it was pretty good, and so I'm excited to see this. And I'm really stoked that's a Wonder Woman story, because it's about time Wonder Woman had another great Wonder Woman story, because she's had it really rough recently. She hasn't really had the best writers or talent on her book. So to have Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo bringing us this cool new Wonder Woman story, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it's interesting what happened with Dark Knight's Metal. It was such a huge hit. I don't think it was really all that expected by DC, and so they didn't actually really have Batman Who Laughs miniseries rolling right out of that. I don't think the Year of the Villain was really even conceived of by then. But all of a sudden, once the Dark Knight's Metal hit, everything kind of was a game changer. Like I said, the Batman Who Laughs miniseries. Now we have the Year of the Villain, which feels like it's been on for about a year in DC Comics. Batman Superman was relaunched to include into that series. Justice League leads right into this Dark Knight's Death Metal sequel, so it definitely became almost all-consuming on the DC line, except for a few titles.
Yeah, it reached everywhere. Then you had also, was that the Hell Arisen series that sort of like finished off like Justice League and the Batman Who Laughs miniseries as well. It went everywhere. The Batman Who Laughs just took over. And yeah, whenever you did have those one shots when Metal came out for all the evil Batman, like the Flash version, the Green Lantern one stuff, and some of those were pretty cool. So yeah, it kind of went everywhere.
Yeah, those one shots are without a doubt my favorite part of that Dark Knight's Metal series, specifically Dawnbreaker, the Red Death, and there's another one called The Wild Hunt, which is one of the weirdest things I've ever read in my life. It's a detective chimp story.
I didn't read that, but they did do one for, I can't remember his name, but basically the Punisher Batman. They did one way later on. It wasn't during Metal. They did it during the Batman Who Laughs miniseries as a tie-in to that as a one shot, because the Batman Who Laughs uses that evil
the
Batman.
Grim Knight.
Yes, that's it. That one shot was really good. I don't know if you read that or not, but it was really good.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty excited when they said they expanded it out to have more tie-ins and to have anthologies. I think that's a great idea. You know, the 6-issue miniseries I think is going to be big, but I liked all the stuff that was kind of on the periphery of the Dark Knight's Metal event. So I'm hoping there's going to be more, you know, tie-in events to these new versions of Batman. You know, we've seen a dinosaur Batman. We've seen looks to be a monster truck version of Batman, like a city version of Batman. Hopefully we'll get some explanations and some origins for those as well.
I agree. I hope we get like good new tie-ins and not taking current ongoing books and making them tie into Metal. I hope we just get sort of spin-off books that are tie-ins. That's like, okay, you can read this, but if you're enjoying like what's going on with Hawkman right now, you don't have to read it to know what's going on with Metal. Or if you're enjoying the Hawkman current storyline, you don't have to suddenly get that sidelined because it has to tie into Metal. I hope they just do like their own minis and stuff as tie-ins and not making main titles tie into it, sort of like You're the Villain did, which was really annoying.
All right, so there's another piece of news out there that I think is interesting, but I know you're a lot more excited about. You know, Jonah Hex has been severely misused, or unappreciated in the DC Comics universe for a number of years now, and he's gonna have a part to play in Death Metal.
I hope it's a big part. I'm really excited we got that reveal because Greg Capullo tweeted out a picture of Jonah Hex, and I'm so excited, especially see Greg Capullo draw Jonah Hex is going to be awesome because that's one of the things that we had a ginormous run by Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray on Jonah Hex, which is amazing, but for the most part, they didn't really get the best talent as far as artists went. They got some good guys, but nothing like Greg Capullo. So to see Greg Capullo draw Jonah Hex is going to be awesome, and like you're saying, he's very underappreciated. He had an ending at the end of All-Star Western, which ended after like 30 or 31 issues. And we haven't seen him since then, since that ended towards the end of the New 52. That was so many years ago. And now he's coming back, and I'm super excited. And I hope this like launches him back into the sort of mainstream of DC to where people recognize and love the character and maybe get him a book back, because that would be awesome.
So are you hoping that he's going to have one of those, you know, one-shot tie-ins, or are you hoping that he's going to play a major part in the actual story?
I would like both, honestly. I hope he had, you know, the more the merrier. I hope that he has a big part in the story, and I also think it'd be cool if we got a one shot to sort of show what led him to where he's at in the current story. Like he shows up in the story.
Found.
Yeah. I think that'd be cool. Like he shows up in the story, helps him, does whatever they need him to do, but then it's like, okay, how did he get here? Well, if you want to see how he got here, read Jonah Hex Metal issue 1. Read that tie-in. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. I think the last time I saw the character was in Adventures of the Super Sons, and I think he might have actually been a robot in that one.
Yeah, that was a robot. It wasn't actually him. The last time I think he actually appeared was one of the Looney Tunes tie-ins. They had him in a Looney Tunes tie-in with, I can't remember, he was hunting someone down. I can't remember one of the Looney Tunes, but that was like the last time he actually appeared.
Nice. So yeah, Jenny Hex isn't doing it for you?
No, not Bendis writing Jonah Hex is like, oh, it's so stupid.
So the other big news that we got in, you know, in that article, and that we've been waiting to see is these lead up comic books up into the DC Generation 5 event. We were supposed to be getting Generation 0, which was going to come out in Free Comic Book Day, and then that was going to be followed up by Generation 1, Generation 2, Generation 3, Generation 4, and that was going to launch into this event, which I think it sounds kind of like Dark Knight's Death Metal might be launching into. Do you think we're ever going to get that material, or do you think maybe it's being incorporated into Dark Knight's Metal? Do you think it's being scrapped?
It would be hard for them to scrap that, considering from what I heard, they already had a decent bit of it done. So I could see them maybe incorporating it into Dark Knight's Metal, like somehow tying that in together and sort of giving the reins more to Scott Snyder now that we don't have to deal with DiDio anymore. And also, I feel like even though DiDio left, the plan was still similar, except they expanded some stuff with Snyder. But then COVID hit, and so now they're like, okay, now we have all this time to make up for it. Unlike before, it was like, well, we just got to stay on track because we already have this stuff done. Now it's like, okay, now there's been a pause. We can sort of, you know, we have some more leeway here. So I feel like they'll probably try to intermingle it a bit with Metal. I doubt they would get rid of all of it, but who knows?
Yeah, well, it sounded like Scott Snyder kind of took a bigger leadership role at DC. He expanded out and fleshed out his Dark Knight's Death Metal, but he was also responsible for some of the creative direction of DC moving forward, which was going to be the end state of Generation 5 and what DC was going to be doing after that. And quite frankly, it sounded like Generation 5 was being contracted and being tightened up a little bit. And so I think we're still going to see the event, but I don't know. We might not actually see those one shots, or maybe they're just going to release them all like back to back to back and just week, and then lead right into the event. What do you think?
I could see that happening. It's like, man, that if they just did it 1 week at a time, just got them all out there, I could see that happening. And I feel like that, if depending on the quality of the writing and everything, it could be a good way to build some hype for the event, considering right now, no one I've talked to is really hyped for that event at all.
Well, yeah, it'd even be pretty smart for them to overship. You know, DC doesn't really overship like Marvel does, but you know, to overship those and get extra copies out to retailers would be a good idea, because from what I understand, like the basic understanding of what Generation 5 is going to be isn't actually, you know, people don't quite realize what it is. It's going to be like an Age of Apocalypse style event. It's not meant to be like a wiping away of all the main character continuity and new diverse versions. It's just an alternate universe that we end up in that I believe Flash, as on the Mobius chair, has to save us from kind of thing. So I was actually kind of getting hyped up for it, especially after Flash Forward. But man, there's been such a long pause. A lot of people are going to lose their excitement, you know, for that event. I don't think enough people read Flash Forward to get ready for it.
Yeah, Flash Forward was great. Definitely the best work of Lobdell. But yeah, that would. And a lot of hype's getting killed right now with books. It's kind of sort of the Doomsday effect, like we have with Doomsday Clock, where it was great, and then just it was so long in between books, a lot of people forgot about it.
Yeah, it's too bad, but we do have good news. Finally, you know, we're getting good news. It's kind of piling up for comic book fans and the comic book industry. You know, DC Comics, there's a couple of new distributors. That was a little bit of controversy there. Not everyone was on board. You know, Diamond seems like they're ramping up. We got new comics, you know, coming online, hopefully on May 20th. Marvel Comics back online May 27th. You know, no X-Men and some of the other key titles, but we're getting Batman in June. We're getting DC's Dark Knight's Death Metal in June. You know, hopefully this will all be sorted out and we're back to normal, you know, in another 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, that'd be nice to get new comics again. It feels like it's been so long, and I'm really happy with DC getting other distributors. I think Diamond's had it too good for too long, and competition's a good thing. Maybe it'll make them step it up a little bit, because all I ever hear about, like basically every comic shop I've ever gone to, is they're always complaining about Diamond. So having competition is only a good thing.
I do agree, good sir. And thank you very much for joining me. This is a good conversation, and hopefully people are ready for Dark Knight's Death Metal coming in June.
I know I am.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.